In this video, we're going to take a look at the Bluetti AC300 plus B300 battery system. Now, this system has been around for a few years and it has a proven track record. And after testing it out for the last several weeks, I can see why. I've reviewed various smaller portable solar generators in the past, which are great for camping and powering smaller devices if the power goes out. And plus, I've shown you larger whole home battery inverter backup systems that can power critical electronics in my house. Now, this system sits square in the middle of capabilities between these two extremes. It's more in a class of products like the EcoFlow Delta Pro, the Zendor Superbase, or the Mango Power E, or any of the other systems that can be tied together to output 240 volts with a hub. Now, I've also reviewed their AC500, which is an almost identical but slightly more capable system, which we'll compare to later in this video. So here's what we're going to cover. The primary specs and features of this model. We'll show how it stacks up against the competition. We'll discuss how it stacks up against its bigger brother, the Bluetti AC500. We'll try to answer the question, is this a good fit for the preparedness community? And I'll give my final thoughts on this unit at the very end. So if at any time during the video you're interested in checking out this unit, I'll post a link in the description and comment section below. So let's jump in. Features and specs. Here are the high-level numbers for each AC300. Now, I say each AC300 because it can be combined with another AC300 to double the numbers that I'm about to run through. Now, each AC300 has a 3,000 watt inverter, handling surge loads of up to 6,000 watts, handling 2,400 watts of solar and 3,000 watts of AC input. And combined with 4 B300 batteries, it can actually handle up to 12,288 watt hours of battery capacity. And you can double all those numbers if you tie them together with another AC300 and B300 battery setup. Now, combined with another AC300, that can actually provide a 240 volt split phase system through a 30 amp plug-in on the front through a separate adapter. Now, the AC300 has a UPS functionality allowing you to power sensitive devices if you're charging it from an AC power source and the power goes out. Let's say, for example, you have a device that always needs to stay powered. If you have it plugged into the Bluetti AC300 and the AC300 is plugged into a wall socket, if the power goes out, powering the AC300, it will switch over to the battery power in under 20 milliseconds. Now, some sensitive devices need a switchover time under 10 milliseconds, so you're definitely going to want to check if this is important for you. Now, you can also monitor the device through an app on your phone via Bluetooth or connect it to the cloud to monitor it via Wi-Fi when away from your device. On the front, it has 6 20 amp plugins, 1 30 amp plug-in, and a 12 volt and 24 volt connection, USB charging plugins, and a wireless charger on the top. Now, additionally, the B300 lithium iron phosphate batteries, they can operate independently of the AC500 head unit, allowing you to power them with 200 watts of solar, 500 watts of AC input, and are rated to 80% capacity at 3,500 charge cycles. Competition. This mid-sized portable solar system market is starting to grow in the last few years as people are wanting bigger systems that can be tied into their home. Now, the best, closest competitors in this expendable battery system configuration that can be tied together to output 240 that I've tested are the following. The Bluetti AC500, which I'll specifically talk about more in just a moment. The EcoFlow Delta Pro and their new EcoFlow Ultra Pro model, which I'll review shortly. Jackery SG2000 Plus, the Mango Power E, the Zendor Superbase V6400. And I'll post a link to a video that I did earlier this year where I compared the various large solar generators that can be tied together for 240 volt output. And if you want to go over and watch that video, it goes into a lot more detail showing the pros and cons of each of these units. Now, between all of the models that I just listed and I've tested, the two that I found to be the most reliable and capable are the EcoFlow and Bluetti products. And at the moment, I'm preparing in the next few months to shop land to build an off-grid setup. And I purposely have kept Bluetti units and the batteries that they sent to me over the last year. In short, here's my summary, and here's why. Now look, I've reviewed so many of these types of devices over the years, and I'm primarily moving forward going to begin to reduce my reviews to just a few manufacturers, namely Bluetti and EcoFlow and maybe 1 or 2 others. My advice is to stick with the companies that are continuously innovating and rolling out new products, and Bluetti, it meets that criteria. Now, my concern is that there's been a flood of new solar generator companies in the last year or so. On an average day, I get about 5 emails asking me to review some new company's unit, and I simply don't anymore because I have no idea if they will even be around in the next 5 years. As such, to ensure that I'm protecting my audience and what I show on this channel, I'm increasingly leaning toward the more established companies that have a proven track record and are continuously innovating. AC300 versus AC500. Now, I've done a review of the Bluetti AC500 in the past, and it's one of the models that I keep around as it's a solid unit. So how do these two units compare to one another? Let's start with the price. The AC300 head unit is $1,400, while the AC500 is $2,600. And regarding output, the AC300 can handle 3,000 watts, while the AC500 can handle 5,000 watts. Regarding expansion capability, you can expand the AC300 with 4 batteries to each head unit to provide a little over 12 kilowatt hours, while the AC500 can be expanded out to 18.4 kilowatt hours. And for AC input, the AC300 can accept 3,000 watts, while the AC500 can handle 4,500 watts. For solar input, the AC300 can accept 2,400 watts at 12 amps, while the AC500 can accept 3,000 watts at 15 amps. And regarding max input, the AC300 can accept 5,400 watts with AC and solar, while the AC500 can accept 8,000 watts with AC and solar. One other feature is that the batteries for the AC300, the B300 batteries, they can actually be used as well with the AC500 setup. In other words, the AC500 is backward compatible with the batteries that the AC300 uses. Good fit? This channel primarily focuses on the preparedness community, and most of my followers, when shopping these units, they want a few primary things. They want longevity, they want reliability, expandability, and affordability. That's a pretty tall order, but here's what I would say about each of those items as it relates to the AC300. Regarding longevity, the batteries on this setup use lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry. And if you're unfamiliar with this, there's 2 primary types of lithium batteries in these types of devices. There are your standard lithium batteries, which typically can produce between 500 and 800 cycles at 80%, depending on how they're used. And then there's lithium iron phosphate, which, if properly maintained, can get closer to 3,500 charge cycles at 80%. Now, the only downside with lithium iron phosphate is weight. But obviously, the system is designed for a more stationary setup, meaning most will likely use it in their home versus a camping trip. Now, additionally, lithium iron phosphate batteries are more stable and less prone to overheating and catching fire like lithium batteries. And when it comes to reliability, Bluetti has an established name within this industry. At this point on the channel, I'm primarily sticking with reviewing the more established companies such as Bluetti, Jackery, and EcoFlow. Plus, this unit does have a 4-year warranty, which is above average in the industry. Now, regarding expandability, you can expand the system up to 24 kilowatt hours if you purchase 2 head units and tie them together within their hub. And lastly, affordability. The price is roughly $1 a kilowatt hour on battery capacity, which is pretty standard in the industry. So overall, I've used their AC500 units for a little over a year now without any issues. As far as these types of units go, it's a solid option that I don't hesitate recommending. Final thoughts. While I hope this video gives you a basic overview of this setup, again, I want this video to provide you with information to help you determine if this is something that would fit your specific needs. And I know many of my viewers are on a budget, and something like this, it might seem excessive, but I know at the same time that others are in the market for a similar setup. Now, the key to this system is mobility, usability, and expandability. It's really modular and it's easily transportable if you need a system that you could easily take apart, grab it, and go during an emergency. It's a setup that it doesn't require any knowledge of how it works. It's just plug and play. And most importantly, you can expand it as you need more. And for those that will suggest the DIY route is the way to go, I mean, there's definitely some advantages in that you know the system you build, but the downside is a learning curve to build it and the tools and the knowledge needed to build it out. Now, I've done several DIY setups before, and it's great to know how to build a system, but you also have to consider that these are professionally engineered. And with this system, there's no learning curve to set it up and modify. You just pull it out of the box, you plug it in, and it's ready to go. Now, I do have a few minor complaints about this unit. There's 3 primary things that I would mention. It's the large cords that are required to connect the batteries together with the AC300 head unit. They're annoying, but they're not the end of the world. Secondly, you have to remember that with a larger inverter, and this one has a 3,000 watt inverter, it's not as efficient on a smaller load as a smaller inverter would be. And look, this is not unique to Bluetti, but larger inverters in general. This setup is definitely designed for higher power needs. And if you don't have as heavy as a need, I'd recommend you check out our solar generator comparison video that we did earlier this year, which shows the typical smaller models that will better suit your needs. Now, Bluetti has several smaller models which may be a better fit for you. Now, third, while Bluetti makes some amazing products, the biggest complaint has been their customer support, which can take some time to get a response back. And at the beginning of 2023, they took steps to remedy that issue to ensure their customers get fast response times. Now, I only bring this up as in the past, it's usually been a big complaint, but they, to their credit, they fixed the issue. Now, otherwise, my experience with their products has been positive. I just haven't had any issues with their products. So if you have any questions, feel free to post those below. I'll post a link in the description and comment section if you'd like to check this unit out. I'll also post a link to our solar generator buyer's guide with the information on this unit in that spreadsheet. As always, stay safe out there.